this country was first rough-hewn from a wilderness, physical education was a natural developmental experience. By its own daily activity, each family developed the qualities necessary for hard, productive living. The emotional stability that preserved tenderness amid toughness. The spiritual reserves that grew stronger with every natural experience. The physical fitness to sustain long, hard labor. And mental alertness, without which survival in a hostile land would not have been possible. Total personal fitness, especially physical fitness, was the essential ingredient of a pioneer's success. Today, the landscape is different, and so are the jobs of the people who changed it. The big jobs of building are no longer the work of single individuals. They are the product of effective teamwork by a strong and stable people. Today, machinery does most of the work that used to take sheer muscle. But the industrial age, despite its labor-saving devices and machines, is demanding more, not less, from its workers and planners. More endurance, a greater capacity for working under pressure, and more ability to cope with the inevitable frustrations and disappointments of the job. In the armed services, in spite of the push-button concept of defense, behind the controls of every machine is a man. And that man must have more than a high degree of intelligence. Whether he fights in the air, on the sea, or on land, coordination, alertness, physical ability, all these attributes are of equal importance. In every walk of life, successful living demands fitness to make the best of our talents, and fitness to live life to its fullest in the off-the-job hours of recreation. Regardless of man's cultural and technological advances, the primary requirement for a healthy, progressive nation will always be a people who are emotionally stable, intellectually alert, and physically competent. Recognizing this fact, the nation's schools are doing their best to fill the unprecedented demand for qualified physical education teachers. And today, in more than 400 colleges and universities, students like these are preparing for a career in the profession. But even with the tremendous numbers of new physical educators that are graduated each year, in many areas there are still many more positions than there are qualified applicants. Representing a true cross-section of young America, today's physical education students come from a great variety of backgrounds and economic levels. However, to be successful in the field of physical education, every one of them should have certain basic qualities. In addition to good intelligence and scholastic achievement, they must have an alert mind and good muscular coordination. Not a star athlete's skill necessarily, but the kind of motor ability necessary to teach the various sports and games. And even more important, the prospective physical educator must have a well-balanced personality, be able to make friends easily and to work well with others. As to the course of study itself, at first glance it looks as though it might have been planned for sheer fun, and yet, although they may vary slightly from school to school, the keynote of the average physical education curriculum, like the physical educator's personality, is balance. Above all, it is designed to provide a well-rounded general education, one that will build a student's character, improve his outlook, and adequately prepare him for other roles he may want to assume in life. With this objective in mind, the physical education student receives a thorough orientation in the humanities, in the social sciences, and in the natural sciences, such as chemistry, physics, geology, or biology. Within the area of specialized study, the student has classes in anatomy, kinesiology, and physiology, as well as courses designed to develop an understanding of child growth and development, to give greater insight into how children and young people learn, depending upon the age group with which the student later wishes to work. In the normal curriculum, the student spends many class hours learning to teach the basic skills in individual, dual, and team sports that aid physical development and provide lifelong recreation. Or, in the case of a man, if he has decided coaching will be the major part of his job as a practicing physical educator, he will probably be dividing much of his time between the skill classes and classes dealing with the theory of coaching. In the last year of work toward a bachelor's degree, the student experiences firsthand the thrill of seeing youngsters develop their confidence and motor abilities as a result of her instruction. And under the direction of an experienced teacher in the field, she learns to perfect her own teaching technique. In addition to this carefully controlled, directed teaching, at this time the student is also completing work for an academic teaching minor and finishing other required studies. At last, after 4 wonderful years of preparation, the young physical educators are graduated Bachelors of Science or Bachelors of Art in Education, ready to take their places in the profession for which they have trained. To find out what happens after graduation, to learn firsthand what opportunities the profession offers, let's visit a few young people who chose to make physical education their careers. Teaching physical education to more than 200 children between the ages of 5 and 12 seems like a lot of work for such a little girl. But Mrs. Clifford Pert, known affectionately to her friends and colleagues as Sis, wouldn't trade it for anything. Sis got her bachelor's degree in 1957. She met her husband, Cliff, a former football star at a great Midwestern university, at a student party. Since leaving school, her husband's work has meant relocating twice in different parts of the country. And each time, her physical education degree has assured her of quick placement at a relatively high salary. In her present position at Central, a neighborhood elementary school in one of our largest metropolitan areas, the week begins with an administrative staff meeting. The staff itself is an excellent example of how well the physical educators can advance in position and prestige in the educational system. Mr. Erickson, the principal, began his professional career as a high school coach with additional duties as an English teacher. And Mr. Bradley, director of physical education for all of the schools in the community, actually taught physical education for more than 15 years before moving up to his present position. Decisions to be reached at the faculty meetings frequently include space allocation, class schedules, lesson plans, equipment needs, attendance, and of course, any special projects which might be underway. After the meeting, Sis usually heads for the gymnasium area where she spends the major portion of each day. In her rhythm classes, the children learn coordination and develop a sense of timing. Like many elementary school teachers, Sis finds working with the first, second, and third graders one of the most enjoyable phases of her daily teaching. In September, performance of the children is spotty and usually poor, but each year, Sis has the satisfaction of seeing a fine improvement as a result of her work. When teaching girls in the upper grades, Sis begins each physical education class by leading her students through a series of self-testing exercises which serve 2 basic purposes. They provide a warm-up, preparing the muscles for more strenuous use. And by stressing good posture and precision movement, she teaches the girls to use their bodies in a graceful and ladylike manner. When the warm-up is over, the students move on to an activity which requires a greater degree of mental alertness and physical skill. These activities include working on the stall bars, traveling rings, ladders, and even the trampoline. Through the use of the more challenging gymnastic apparatus, both boys and girls rapidly increase their self-confidence. And under the expert guidance of the physical educators of the school, they often astound themselves by mastering a feat of amazing physical prowess. Like so many physical education activities, many of the children's games are designed to teach a sense of sociability and fair play, as well as to further their physical development. And in this case, it's one where Sis, acting as combination teacher and referee, gets as much exercise as her pupils. Of course, one of the most rewarding experiences for any physical education teacher is the sense of pride that comes with seeing a boy or girl's progression in a skill or sport. Among the first and second graders, for instance, it's not at all unnatural for the children to show a certain amount of clumsiness in motor skills, such as ball handling, throwing, running, or jumping. But after only a surprisingly few years of instruction at the hands of an experienced physical educator, the student's desire to participate and his continued practice of the skills and knowledges he has been taught result in an alert, confident child with well-developed motor reflexes that will stand him in good stead in other learning and playing situations. Aside from her administrative and teaching responsibilities, Sis takes an active role in the school's PTA meetings. As director of the school's co-ed recreation program, a job which requires creative imagination as well as administrative ability, she is a frequent and popular speaker at community gatherings. And although she has been teaching at Central less than a year, to the mothers and fathers whose children are entrusted to her care, who daily see their children becoming stronger and more confident as a result of her intelligent, firm, yet gentle leadership, she's one of the most important members of the faculty. In the short walk between the east and west buildings of the ultra-modern suburban Glenbrook High School, physical educator Jack Lease says hello more times than a politician running for re-election. While most of the students address the popular young teacher as Mr. Lease, to many of the boys, he's known simply as Coach. A 1956 graduate who received his master's degree in 1957, Jack's great interest in coaching was the determining factor in his decision to specialize in high school work. And at Glenbrook, he's found a position that gives him everything he had hoped for. In addition to his regular duties, which include teaching basic physical education involving seasonal sports and swimming, Jack is kept busy coaching all year round. As freshman football coach, it's up to Jack Lease to make sure that every interested boy has a chance to play, to find and develop those with a real talent for the game, and most important of all, to teach every one of them those principles of behavior which they can use to guide them in any life situation. As a result, whether his boys wind up first string or intramural football, before the season is over, they learn to win modestly, to lose gracefully, and they know forever that top performance in any field requires drive, practice, and self-discipline. Just as all good physical education teachers must, Jack stays well ahead of his work, and before the football season has been long over, he's already working on the school's spring co-ed golf program. In addition to his golf responsibilities, Jack also coaches the freshman wrestling team. All of this doesn't leave him much time for spring fever, but he likes it this way because, to Jack Lease, this is the big payoff in physical education. The chance to help boys grow, the opportunity to teach a skill to students who show a keen interest, boys who are willing to spend enough time in study and practice to become really good at it. And as every educator, regardless of his field, knows, there's the ever-present thrill of knowing that you may be helping to shape the future of a student who is destined to stand out in his field, an All-American, or even a great Olympic champion. Jack also teaches health education, instructing his students in the importance of observing recommended hygienic and sanitary procedures, good nutritional practices, regular exercise, and the proper amount of rest. Another one of Jack's many responsibilities is that of Mr. Leese, student advisor. Having indicated an interest in a career in physical education, this young man was referred to Jack by the school student counselor. What are some of the specialties in the physical education profession? What can he take now to better prepare him for his college work? No problem is too big for Jack Leese to tackle, none so small that he can ignore it. Because this is his job, helping young people through the sometimes difficult business of growing up. When observing this group of young people at one of our country's most renowned universities, one might well ask, which one's the teacher? The teacher is Elaine Markoff, B.S., M.A., and currently working on her doctorate. And the fun of working with young adults, the informal and friendly relationships she can form with her students are precisely the reasons why this youthful physical educator elected college teaching as her specialty. After arriving at her office, Elaine usually spends the first 1 or 2 hours of the day working on the administrative details that are part of her job. With more than a dozen physical education classes on her weekly schedule, it's important that lesson plans be made up well in advance and that special assignments be completed in time. Her current project, developing a girls' intramural sports program, was given her by Walter Gregg, associate professor in the physical education department and Elaine's immediate superior. Making up such a program requires, first of all, a detailed professional knowledge of the sports to be offered. Volleyball, for instance, will always attract a large number of girls who find this fast-moving, exciting sport exactly what they want. Consequently, Elaine must balance time and facilities with the needs of other intramural sports like field hockey, softball, badminton, and swimming. By applying her basic professional knowledge of the various sports, Elaine can create a successful intramural program. And although her administrative work is thorough and well done, no one knows better than Walt Gregg but Elaine's real interest in her job is in the actual teaching of the many sports for which she is responsible. In accordance with the progressive physical education doctrine of utilizing all of the community's teaching facilities, 2 years ago, Elaine, with the permission of her dean, arranged with the local riding academy to cooperate in the establishment of a riding class. The class has become extremely popular with the students, and since the word got around campus, it's usually filled within a few days after registration. Another class Elaine particularly enjoys teaching is fencing, an ideal sport for those who wish to improve their poise, grace, and coordination. Volleyball, softball, riding, fencing, soccer, Elaine Markoff enjoys them all. But despite her great love of sports and teaching, one of Elaine's most satisfying university duties is carried out during registration. There she enrolls incoming freshmen in the physical education curriculum and helps them plan their first semester courses. If in time these youngsters receive from teaching physical education the same deep sense of fulfillment that Elaine Markoff enjoys, they can rest assured that their choice was a wise one. Comparing very favorably with the other professions in terms of salary, physical education is one of our greatest and fastest growing professions. And within the field, there's a highly desirable variety of specialization. The physical educator may choose a career teaching in public or private elementary schools, high schools, or colleges. He may go into voluntary youth agency work with organizations like the Y, the Boys Clubs of America, or the Scouting Movement. Or he may decide to concentrate on a position in coaching or in one of the many community or industrial physical education programs. Another rapidly growing specialty within the profession, one that has few equals in terms of service to others, is working with handicapped children. Here, with professional knowledge, patience, and understanding, the physical educator earns the love and gratitude of her young charges by giving them confidence and teaching them the skills that will perhaps someday permit them to participate in a sport of their choice and be like others, despite a disability. In addition to the basic rewards of a career in physical education, good income, security, prestige in the community. Those positions in the field of teaching offer an additional advantage. Each year, the physical education teacher has 3 months of free time, time which can be used for travel, study, or taking advantage of opportunities for increased income, any of which will broaden the individual's base of human experience and enrich his professional competency. A career in physical education contains all the elements of a full and satisfying life. Interesting work, needed service, economic security, and high social acceptance. Regardless of whether you teach in elementary school, high school, college, or work with a voluntary youth-serving agency, you can be confident that as a physical education teacher, you'll be helping preserve the great American heritage through developing our greatest asset, American youth.